Scade, owner of Deal My Kayaks. In this series of videos, I'm building the Petrel, a strip-built kayak. In the previous episode, I milled the western red cedar strips for the kayak and set up the building forms. In this video, I'll shape the inner stems and install the first strips onto the forms. Please post any comments or questions you have in the comments area. I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can. The inner stem fills in the sharp triangle at the inside of the bow and stern of the kayak. While this does provide some strength, for our purposes it just provides a convenient landing space for the strips at each end of the boat. While I was cutting out the forms, I made patterns for the inner stems. I traced these onto one side of a piece of 1/2 inch thick pine. I used a bandsaw to cut out along the outer edge, then traced the same pattern on the other side. The center line marks the sharp edge of the bevel. I want to create the bevel between the center line and the inner edge of the stem. I find it hard to see what I'm doing on this light colored pine, so a series of pencil strokes provides a quick guide to where I'm at. The bevel should be a flat face from center to edge with no crowning between. I don't try to curve the plane down the length of the stem. Instead, I try to create the curve from a series of straight cuts. Once I've got the bevel to my liking, I retrace the inner edge of the stem from my pattern. I then cut the stem off the 1/2 inch blank along that inner edge line. A quick touch on the sander cleans up the saw cut. The bevel of the inner stem needs to be continued onto the end form, matching the angle of the sectional fins. A sharp plane cuts the MDF pretty well, but you can also use a rasp or coarse sandpaper. When the bevel is done, it should be a continuation of the inner stem shape. Since I don't want the stem forms to be part of the finished kayak, I cover the bevel with tape. The inner stem is part of the finished kayak. I'll eventually glue strips to the stems, but for now I'll hold them in place with some masking tape. With the stems in place, it's now time to start fitting the strips. The first strip usually follows the shear line or the widest part of the form. When I made the forms, I marked the shear with notches. I placed little clamping jigs next to the notches to hold the first strip while I determine the length. The jigs support the strip in position so I can accurately measure it. With the strip aligned at one end, I lop it off at the other end. The ends of the Petrel play curve up sharply. Full-width strips usually have trouble bending enough. Since narrow strips will be easier to bend, I taper the ends. I think it also looks nice. Since each stroke of the plane takes off a little bit, wherever you plane more will be removed. So by stepping back a bit with each plane stroke, you will end up creating a taper. By planing the shear strips for both sides of the boat at the same time, I end up with 2 identically tapered strips. The shear strip needs a bevel to mate with the deck. If you leave the edge of the strip square, you'll end up with a large gap. With a bevel on each shear strip, they will match up with a tight seam. I created bevel guides by clamping sticks to the forms to bisect the angle between the deck and the hull. The bevel changes from form to form, or what is called a rolling bevel. I start by putting the tapered strips back up on the form. I write the form number where the strip crosses each form. This helps me keep track of my location on the strip as I create the rolling bevel. The gap between the strip and the guide sticks is what I need to eliminate. I place my plane on the strip, I match the gap I just saw on the guide stick. If I maintain that same angle as I plane away the corner of the strip, I should eliminate the gap. I continue planing until I think I'm nearly there, then I check to see how I'm doing. Once again, I check the gap,
and match the gap. Then I check at the next form, working my way along the strip. In between the forms, I roll my wrist while planing to transition from one bevel to the next. When the bevel looks good, it's time to secure the strips in place. A simple staple is a quick clamp. I align the strips to the shear mark and double check that it runs fair and true. When I have both shear strips installed, I glue the ends to the inner stems. A small amount of glue, a clamp, and wipe off the excess. The shear strips are on. Now we can start making progress.
In the next episode, I'll continue adding strips to the side of the kayak, working my way up to the shine. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to keep abreast of the progress, and if you have any questions as I proceed, please ask in the comments. Thank you for watching and happy paddling!